Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to look at my Gamecube. I'm going to show you what's happening. So when I turn it on, I'm getting a screen. So the counter needs reset. So I believe now the battery is dead on the unit. So I'm going to show you how I take it apart and replace it. And can we fix it? Okay, so like I mentioned before, today's video is about replacing the internal battery on my Gamecube. It looks like it's died, and I'll need to do some soldering, take this unit apart, and replace it. It seems like it'll be easy. I'm a pretty novice at soldering, but I have quite a few consoles, and there are one by one the batteries are starting to go bad. So I thought I'd make a video and show you me replacing it. Okay, so I recently replaced the battery in my Dreamcast. It took a rechargeable battery. The Gamecube is just going to be the standard 2032. You don't have to buy the rechargeable type. They do make it's an ML 2032 for the rechargeable. But again, for the Gamecube, you won't need that. You can just use the standard 2032. I'm going to need some flux, some solder. I'm going to need the wick to remove the solder. I'm going to need a little screwdriver set to take it apart. So without further ado, I will start taking the unit apart. So now my unit has the Gamecube attachment, which I'm going to need to take that off first. If you don't have this, you won't have these, but it's just basically a couple screws on the bottom here to remove that. Alright, this should just slide off. Okay, so just remove that. So now here's the Gamecube. Let's see what to get the batteries off of this unit. Okay, looks like they're down in, if I can zoom in at all. Yeah, it's probably not good, so let's not do that. Alright, looks like this bit's the standard game bit. To take cartridges apart, I'm going to give it a whirl and see. And it is. Yep, it's a standard game bit. Looks like there's 4 screws to remove here. Looks like these are going to be a little more of a pain, but let me see if I can get them to pop out. Okay, so now we have 4 screws. I'm really bad at losing things, so I do try to keep a little glass tray. There's some magnetic ones too to have a place to put them. Alright, so let's slide the top off. Alright, so this battery is what I need to replace. So, I'll take one of these apart, so let's see what can be done here. Looks like there's 2 screws. That's, looks like I got a screw here and a screw here that I need to remove. Okay, I'm back. So I had to get a mini screwdriver. This one says if it'll focus or not. It says PH00, It's just a standard Phillips head, just a small one. Just want to get that screw removed there. Remove this one here. See if this will lift off. Looks like I'll have to pull back on here. Actually, I didn't even need to do that. Well, that's why I'm an amateur fix-it. Okay, so now we've got this board here. I am going to it does look like we'll need to release it from the control board off the front panel. So I'll give this a shot. Too small. Let's go with a different screwdriver. Yes, it looks like I'm needing a couple different size screwdrivers. My micro is too small for this one. And like I said, I didn't really need it for the other one. I just thought I did and I didn't. So all right. So now this board should be released. I'm going to try. So it looks like this is on a ribbon. It is. So I was able to remove it that way. I've tried to do things with things soldered or ribbons on. It's just better off to remove them. I mean, they do plug right back in. They're not too bad. So now the goal is to remove this battery. It looks like there's, I'll try to zoom that in. Space that up. So we got two solder joints that we're going to try to need to take off. We need to take this one off and this one off. So going to put a little flux on here. The flux generally helps the solder flow. What I found out when I worked on my Dreamcast. So, and all right, let's see what we can do here. So, should be able to just lay this wick on here and have it remove the solder from the board. Actually, I'm going to cut a piece of the wick off. I find it difficult sometimes to hold it when I'm trying to do this. So let's try this again. Let's get the solder heated up. Yeah, see it's starting to attach. All right, and let's do the other one here. So lay this on its side. Just got to heat it up, and it'll just absorb right into the wick. It's pretty neat stuff. Looks like the battery just popped right out. So just fell out after I loosened it up. All right. So now I did purchase these from Amazon. I did this similar to the one for the for my Dreamcast. They make these mounts. The Dreamcast mounts are on the they sit up and down, but these actually lay like this. So this is what I'm going to use to replace this. So I'm just going to set the, I have to set them into the, okay. Well, I'm finding that these are spaced a little different than the holes that are in here. So let's try that again. I'll try to bend them a little bit. That didn't work out so well. Looks like, well, now I know why I bought a bunch of them. Look, when I ordered them from Amazon, they had like a pack of 10. Didn't need 10, I didn't think, but obviously I do. All right, so now if you can see, I've got both of the little ends going through the board. I am going to need to prop this on something to try to keep this balanced. I'm afraid that'll pop off if I don't. Does look like it's wanting to stay though. All right, so we're gonna add a little more flux. May not need all this. Oh, take the cap off. All right. Now I've only soldered a couple times. Again, I keep repeating, I did the Dreamcast last week, and it looks like I've got an Xbox coming up here soon. I'm going to need to do that too also. So my soldering is pretty new, but what you want to do is you want to heat the opposite side of the metal and then have the solder absorb in. That's what we're going to try to do here. See it there. I'm gonna try to do it a different way here. Looks like, yeah, making sure that stays put. Okay. So, not the best. Not again. I'm an amateur, but the battery did go in. It does look like it's seated in there good. I could kind of wiggle it a little bit. So let me actually. I don't like that. Kind of have a little bit of movement on the one side, so I'm gonna try to remove that solder that I just put on there. guess if you leave the wick on too long, you can solder a wick. All right. Happy that came out. It looks like I'm going to need to redo this. The other side came out. It looks like those things are pretty cheap. Again, I did order from Amazon, but I didn't realize they were going to be that weak. So let's take this back off again. I am struggling getting this thing on there. Alright, so it came off again. Let's try to get the rest of that out of there so I can again redo this. Alright, so those are open back up again. So let's try one more of these little fellas. Alright. So these are not always really easy to... Seems like they're just a little bit off on the dimensions. How they go in, so I must have to bend them in a little bit. Okay, so now we're back in again. All right, so let's see if we can get this soldered this time, or it'll hold it. I do want to do... Oh. One more time. Let's put a little more flux on. I really want this stuff to flow down in. All right. Okay. All right, so it's in. Yeah, and this time it's actually nice and firm in there. Okay, so now I'm going to reassemble. And I'm going to a little bit of isopropyl alcohol. I try to do like the 90%. Gets the least amount of water, more alcohol. So I clean up that flux, kind of make it look a little bit nicer. I put it all back together. All right. Inspect the solder joint. Again, it's in there good. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna reassemble this. Again, this cable here is gonna fit down in to these can get a little tricky, but it is pretty firm, so just kind of wiggle a little bit till it goes in. Don't have to push real hard. Let's get my faceplate back. So we're gonna get those screws back in. First set. It's the two short ones. I know it's pretty obvious, but in these electronics, these screws come in so many multiple different sizes. It's a really good idea to try to keep some track of where or what sizes you're pulling out where, because a lot of them will thread in the same spot, but they might be a little bit longer, which can cause a problem because you'll put it together and then you'll have one that's too short that you need to use. So all right, so now we're going to attach this back. Oops. Let's see what I've done here. All right, let's take this back off. It's not on properly. So we'll take those back out. Let's see what I've done. Alright, so I do have a couple mounts here. It looks like I may have put this in backwards. Okay, well, let me take this back off. I believe this goes on down here. Sounds strange, but it doesn't make sense to me. But it is. Okay, so I was doing it opposite. So it actually sits towards the bottom, so I was putting it on wrong. Basically, what I had to do, there's these two prongs here and this one here, and this is what you got to line up. And obviously there's two holes there and one hole there, so I was putting it on incorrectly. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the smaller screws back in, screw them down, which is what's holding the control board back on the unit. And the other one was right here. You don't want to over tighten them. You don't want to break anything, crack the board. All right, so now, since that's why I was doing that incorrectly, this is going to go in from the top here. All right, and again, these are just need to barely go in. You want to wiggle it a little bit, and they'll go in nice and firm. You don't want to over press too hard or you'll break them. All right, so now we've got this. That steps on there, that snaps on there. I've made this all up. Sorry you had to go through this. a lot more brutal than it needs to be. Alright, so let's zoom back out. So now that that's in there, we're going to slide the top back on. Going to flip the unit over. Now, I kind of alluded to, this is a game bed. I bought it from Amazon. It's actually a longer shaft because you do have to go down deep in here. Some of the, I fixed it, and some of the screwdriver sets will have them, but what I find, they don't have a long enough extension. So this is what I use to take games apart when I'm cleaning them. You know, your SNESs and or NES games also. So now we're gonna put this back in here and put this guy back together. Maybe. Okay, well that's in there. All right. So let's go ahead and, now that it's in there, we're going to tighten it back up. I couldn't feel like it fell in correctly, but it did. All right. I kind of do opposite corners. I don't think it matters, but I do find that's an easier way to do it. Make sure one side's, you know, they kind of level off both sides. Let's go for this guy over here. We got one more. Which one do I supposed to go? Oh, yeah, right here. All right, let's move those out of the way. All right. And I have left something off. Oh, man. All right, so. This is a professional fix-it, as you can tell. Okay, let's try this again. Get the screws out. 1, 2, 3. There's one more guy. 4. Okay. So it looks like for this, I can tell this is just going to slide in. I don't remember taking it out, but it probably just fell out when I took it apart. That just easily goes back in there. Now, this slides over both sides. Make sure it all lines up. It clicked in. There we go. So now we actually have a full cube. And let's do the screws one more time. Okay, one more left. And I feel so strong that this is going to work. I'm going to go ahead and put my Game Boy player back on. Famous last words, right? Really don't need anything special for this, obviously. It's just a couple slotted screws. All right, so if this works, then I shouldn't get the screen. I should be able to set the calendar and it'll be set for good. There's no, again, this is not a rechargeable. There's not really a lot of power used from it, so those batteries will last a long time. You know what I did? I did put a battery in. I won't suffer you through this again. I'll take this back apart and we'll fire it back up. I can't believe I just did this. All right, I'll be back in a moment. All right, so I lied. I will show you me putting the battery in, and that shows you what I get for being cocky, where I thought I could just, oh, actually make sure you peel this off. I know it sounds silly, but I put it all back together, thought it was going to work, and obviously I didn't even do it correctly. All right, so this battery is just going to pop in there. All right, so the battery's in. All right, so again, let's put this back together one last time. I'll speed this part up so you don't have to watch me redo everything I just did again, but I will put this back together and then we'll fire it up, see what happens. Okay, actually I'm able to stretch the cord so we can see it live. All right, we're plugged in. Do you think it's gonna work? I hope it does. All right. We have power. Okay. Need to set the counter the first time. All right, we'll need to prop this up for 1 second. Unfortunately, I don't have the. I'll set this calendar. Alright. Well, we're in the year of 2025. Today is the 14th of October. And time is 7 o'clock. Come on, 7. Alright, we've got it confirmed. Alright, so now I'm going to turn it back off and power Run the power back on, and let's see if it remembers it. Beautiful. Look at that. It actually worked. Okay. Kind of the reason I make this videos is amateur fix it is I'm pretty new at this. I can do a few things. If you've got a little bit handy, you can do this. It takes a little bit of time. It takes a little bit of effort. It's not very difficult. It's not a big soldering job. You know, that wicking helps. Make sure you use flux and solder, but you know, I think you can do it if you wanted to. Again, I understand if you need to take it out and have someone else do it, but I just kind of wanted to show you that it's possible. And as you can see, I made a lot of mistakes. I'm new to this. I'm not an expert. I just want to make this to show that everyone can do it if they try. And can I fix it? I guess we did. All right. Thank you.